Hey everybody, thanks for coming by Open Visual Effects to check out this matte tutorial. I'm Sean, and we're just going to do this pretty quickly. It's just an explanation for creating mattes from your footage. You call them channel mattes, or just creating an alpha channel from your footage, whatever you want to call it. Luma Matting, although Luma Matting is a little bit different, it's based on the luminance. But I've gotten a lot of questions about this through my website, so I thought I would make a couple videos showing both in Blender and in Natron exactly how to extract channel information and use that as an alpha channel, just so we're clear. If you're an experienced compositor, this is all pretty basic stuff, but if you're new to compositing, this is one of the core techniques used on everything you work on. So real quickly, the whole idea is based around the color channels of an image. Every image is made of RGB, right? And you can, in Blender, you can go up here to the RR, the G green and the blue channels, and you can see those. Sadly, we have no shortcut to jump through those easily. You have to kind of go up to this little window. I wish there was a way to do it just using RGB like in other programs, but unfortunately there isn't. So for now, we've got to jump around like this. So you can see that each of the color channels is represented just by a black and white image, 0 to 1. 0 means there's no color information there. 1 means there's full color information there. So if you're looking at the red channel and it's very bright, that pixel's a 1 or something, or close to a 1, that means there's going to be a full red there, a lot of red. If there happens to be if that pixel is white in the red, the green, and the blue, if it's got all the colors, it ends up reading as white. So that's basically it. So you can see, right, like if we look at this face, at their skin, the brightest parts of their skin, they're pinkish, but they're also very white, right? So of course they're going to be bright in red, but they're also going to be bright in the other channels. So you can see there's a lot of green in there as well. It's not dark at all, and there's even quite a bit of blue in those brightest spots. However, if you look at something like this blue bar up here, or these green vines, you can see as we flip through, right, we've got a gray wall, blue, green. It's a good reference, right, to see compared to each other. In the red, there's not much red in the green, there's not much red in the blue, but the gray is going to have kind of the same value in the red, green, and blue. So this part of the wall shouldn't change very much through all three channels. However, the blue and the green will. When we switch over to the green channel, hopefully those vines, they still look pretty dark, actually, surprisingly. But the blue up here lightens up a lot, right? As if it's saying there's not as much green in here as there is blue, and there's certainly less red. So if we go to the blue channel, you can see now that's brightest up there because that's what's in there most. And this would actually work. I used this in my Natron tutorial, compositing tutorial a while back. We put a mural on this wall, and I wanted these vines to look like it was crawling over the mural, like it had grown over it. And I believe we used the blue channel to create an alpha matte to do that. You could paint, you could roto, but this was a handheld camera shot as well, which means you'd have to do a lot of tracking to get that paint or roto to stick on there. With a Luma matte, it's all automatic. You just dial it in. And the way to do that in Blender, to select your channel, is in Natron or Nuke, you use something called a shuffle node, where you can shuffle channels around, and you basically shuffle, you kind of reroute the blue channel into the alpha channel. In Blender, we use a tool called, under Converter, Separate RGBA. So all that's going to do, you plug it into your image, and now you've got outputs of your red, green, blue, and your alpha, right? So you can just take a look at these, right? So it's very easy to cycle through. Red, green, blue, and we said we were going to use the blue here because this has the most contrast. If you know about an alpha channel is the transparency of an image, right? It's like white, anywhere that's white in an alpha channel is going to be fully opaque. Anywhere that's black is going to be fully transparent. And then the shades of gray are going to be varying levels of transparency. And an alpha channel is a way to store that data. Basically, when you pull green screen, what happens is you're cutting the green away and creating an alpha channel that's embedded in that image that only retains the person, which we'll actually look at down here a little bit later. But for right now, we want to look at this. So the idea is we're going to take this blue channel and we're going to crush it using some color tools, just to kind of crank up the white to be white and the blacks to be black, or something close to it. So in Blender, there's a few ways, of course. Under the color tools, you've got a lot. You've got RGB curves, you've got some value nodes, some brightness contrast. My favorite, however, if you're just working with a black and white channel, is the color ramp, because this very much replicates sort of like a levels tool in Photoshop or After Effects or other, or GIMP or Krita. It kind of replicates that a lot. So it's a very nice tool to use for this exact thing. And then basically these are your kind of like your threshold sliders. So you can kind of start dialing in the blacks a bit, dial in those whites. If you want to do gray adjustments, you can even throw in something right down the middle and kind of set this to be like 0.5-ish. And then you can kind of move that around if you want. We're not going to use the gray for this. We're just going to use the black and the white, because that's all we want is an alpha channel. And I'm just going to keep on cranking it up until we get something like that, which looks pretty nice, actually. Yeah, there we go. Looks pretty good, right? So if you wanted an actual, if you were going to put the mural on the wall, this would be your mat to put it on the wall, and it would not put the mural where the vines are, which is exactly what you want. If you wanted to invert this for any reason, if you needed a mat of the vines, it's very easy. Just under the color, you've got an invert node. You can just drop that on, and it automatically inverts it, which is great. And then it even brings out, you can see if you've still got some problem areas or whatever you need to dial in a little bit more. You can do that. But, it's always a balancing act between getting rid of detail. Up here also gets rid of detail down here in these fine little vines, right? So you don't want to, it's like a balancing thing. So, just be careful with all that. And that's basically it. This node right here, the separate RGBA, kind of does everything we need. And again, we can take a look at this. Here's another image. I thought this was pretty good. It demonstrates what those channels are doing and how they store the data really well, with the green trees, this blue garbage can, I think it's a garbage can, and her bright red dress. You can see if we plug that in and we take a look at it, each channel, which I'm just going to use this now almost as a viewer to kind of jump around instead of going up here to this thing, because this is much easier and faster. So you can see here, this is also a really big image too. I can't, tell me, right? Image, it's like 5.7, so there you go. It's a little bit slower than the regular old HD footage. Anyway, let's take a look at some of this, right? If we look at the red, you can see how bright the dress is, but in the green and the blue, it's very dark. That's because there's not much blue and green involved in the coloration of that dress, right? So also take a look at this garbage can here in the blue channel. It's kind of vanished, right? But if we go to the red channel, it's it's a big black spot basically, which tells you that there's almost no red data in there at all. So that's, if we wanted, if our note on this shot was to, oh, that blue garbage can stands out, the director wants it gone, it'd be very easy to use this, throw an invert node on it. Well, all right, maybe not perfect, but you'll get the idea, right? If we let me do this here, right? Start crushing this down, and you start getting, you can end up with sort of a little mat of it, right? So there's that garbage can right there. Of course, you'd have to garbage rotor this and all that, but you should probably be able to use this to dial in your soft edges and stuff like that. And then you can color correct that garbage can green, and then it'll just blend into everything else in the background there, and nobody will ever notice it. So, it's just one of the many ways of using the channels for things like that. Another example is this one, which is obviously just this footage is a drone footage of flying over this field, and the trees are all coming closer. The drone eventually goes through these trees, but kind of up a little higher. So if you had to do something in here, like put something in the background or replace the sky or whatever, you don't want to be rotoing all these trees, especially through a moving shot. I mean, with all these little detail things and stuff. So that is, of course, where you will get involved with channel matting this stuff out. So the red, you can see it's kind of gray, right? It's kind of the sky's got a lot of gray up here because there's you know, the blue of the sky and the white. The white, of course, has white has lots of everything in it, red, green, and blue. So that's going to show up white. But this blue sky doesn't have much red in it, so it's showing up as gray. Same with the green grass. Too many gray tones in here for us to be able to properly. In fact, let me throw on a new color ramp right here. And if we just to even show you, if we were to start crushing this down. You know, we can't replace the sky. We're getting some nice detail here on these, but we can't replace that sky like this. It's just not possible. So I'm going to disable that for a second while we keep going through this. In fact, let me just reset it. I'll completely unplug it, right? What is it that's separate? That's not what I wanted. Well. Anyway, turn that off for now. So we look at the green channel. Green channel isn't a whole lot better. Things get brighter, so you might be able to get a better one. But the grass is still very green, of course, so it's a little bit grayer than what I'd like. But if we take a look at the blue channel, the sky is almost completely white, and the grass has gone darker than it's been in either the red or the green channel. So this blue channel is very promising, right? So we plug this into our color ramp, take a look at it. This we can probably crush down, right? We crush it a little bit here. And then we bring this way down, and this is just, you know, this is pretty basic. And here you'd also want to kind of retain as much detail because these background mountains are still kind of showing up here as we crush this to white. You'd probably want to do a garbage roto around these far distant mountains and do a little bit of an extra crush in there, because you can see by the time if you watch as I drag this down, by the time we get rid of those mountains, look at how much detail we've lost up here, right? So if we bring those back, let's start bringing it back just until, so there's a lot of detail in there, but we still have those mountains. So that's where you'd want to do a garbage roto, throw another color ramp in there and use that roto to do an extra color correction in here where you just take it a little bit further. And you're still not losing any of that detail. When you combine those two mats together, you will get the exact mat that you want. So that's another example. So one of my favorite examples and ways of using this is hair. So, you know, normally on a green screen, you would, where's our keyer, keying right there. That's pretty horrendous, right? Let's mute that and do a key color of that. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be, it's not a keying tutorial, so I don't want to dive too far into this. In fact, all right, I'll show you this real quick. Since I showed that, no. This isn't the time or the place for it, really. But there's a great little trick to get the, should we do it? Let's do it. Motion tracking, nothing here. I got to find that image. What is that image? Nothing. What is that image? Go here. Actually go here. What is that image? Where is it? There it is. Green table markers locked. Trust me, this is worth it. Green tables. Green tables. No. Tracking. Green table markers locked 2. Frame 1. Green tables. Is that right? Am I seeing that right? Yeah, right there. green table markup. In fact, let me just do this. Copy. Come on, mouse. Cancel. Motion tracking. Open. Throw this here. Enter. Grab that first one. Open clip. So watch this. This is interesting. Just place trackers around. I don't know how many people know this trick or not. I haven't done it in a long time. I hope it still works, actually. You can throw a few out here, too. See what happens. Obviously, I'm not tracking anything. I'm just setting some trackers, right? So we're going to come over here. We're going to grab, under keying screen, we're going to grab that. And if we look at that, it kind of takes it color samples where those trackers are and blends them all together. So you can see here we picked a green, right? And we get that. We plug this in. Looks a lot better. So there we go. A little bit of a trick. If we take a look at the matte here, so that's some pretty good hair detail, right? That's spectacular, actually. This is actually better than Natron. So that's really nice. However, if you wanted to add more detail, if for some reason someone wasn't happy with all the detail, or you were cutting away too much or whatever, what you could do is, let's do this, drop this down here. So let's look through the channels real quick, right? Let me hide this. No, leave it open. Red is useless, obviously. Green, pretty good. Pretty good, actually. You can see a lot of little hairs in there, a lot of detail. And the blue, kind of the same. I guess you can see a little bit more detail. That's probably just because it's darker overall. So let's try it with the green, right? Let's just take that and take another one of our color ramps and throw it on here. Converter, color ramp. Throw this on here. Crush this one down. And you can see we're starting to get a bit of nice detail. And again, if you throw another invert after it, yeah, you can see exactly what's happening there. So look at that. That's retaining quite a bit of detail there. Of course, you'd have to do some sort of edge mat or a garbage mat of the hair detail. But what if we do that and we jump between that and this? No. This. That's what I mean. Give me that. G down to here. So then we can just kind of jump between the two, right? So that's not too bad, actually. They're pretty similar. So you can see even if you don't have, even if you don't know the keyer very well, it's still possible to get a really nice key just using your channel data. Remember that if you're ever in any program that does keying but doesn't have like a great keyer, you can always just jump in there and use your matte channels. And then let's move on. Here's another example. This one, for example, there's no green screen at all. And you could give it a try, like keying out this tan, this off-white color back here. But what you really want to do is just pull a channel matte out of it, right? So let's duplicate this back down here, and let's take a look through which of these is nice, right? Red, green, blue. It looks like they're all really similar, right? However, see how every time I click through them, the highlights get a little bit darker as we go, right? Red, they're kind of bright. Green, they get a little darker. Blue, they get darker still. So I'm going to go with the darkest because this wall hasn't been changing much at all. So I think we're going to be able to get the best contrast out of the blue channel. So let me throw on our color ramp. This is all pretty standard by now. And again, feel free to use whatever color tools you like. If you like curves better, knock yourself out, whatever you want to do. But this tends to work for me. And here you can see, you can even zoom way in there and make this bigger, whatever you want to do to get a nicer look out of it. And turn up this white quite a bit. And look at that. The detail is just awesome that you can get using the channels themselves. I'm going to duplicate this invert right down here again. And let's go a little further on that crush here. Look at that. That's great, right? Spectacular. So that's basically the magic of channels, right? Of using the channels. Another thing is Luma Matting, which I showed in the Natron tutorial, that the basic keyer is a Luma Keyer. Luminance Key, Blender does have something very similar. Here, so I've got this image here, which you can see it's a very dark image, right? Except for where the sunlight's coming in, and then where it's bouncing, right? Where it's reflecting off the stairs a little bit. There's some bright spots of the wall, but generally the brightest areas are the window and this. So if we wanted to change that sun to a different color, we could use this Luminance Key. And you can see, just by plugging it in, it already creates kind of an alpha channel for us. If you look at that mat, you can see it right there, and it's very simple. You just get two basic controls on how to use this, right? The brights, that crushes your brights, and this crushes your darks, and then there you go, you got it. So, you know, in the Natron tutorial, if you haven't watched that, I then just color corrected the window, the sunlight color, which we can do here as well. We can throw this in there, and take a look at this. And if we could do like a multiply or a color or whatever we want, and you can change this to red or green, whatever you want, green. You can see it's affecting down here. It is affecting the stairs. It's affecting everywhere the light is falling, and that's all completely based off of our Luminance Key here. So we could, turn that up and have it affect more white area, or turn the blacks down a bit, and or crush it harder, and see what it how it affects what. Actually, what we want is that matte in there. That's what we want. That's what we want. There you go. You can see it a little bit better now. As it crushes it, and turn this up a bit, you can see it gets much stronger down there. So that's basically a Luminance Key. You should be able to do that. I haven't done this in a long time. Separate hue, saturation, value. Hue, saturation, value, right? It's kind of another way you could pull a matte is looking at the hue, saturation, and values. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that is what, I think this, a Luminance Key, right, is going to look like this, right? So if we take a look at this and this, pretty close. So the value is basically the luminance. Technically, it may be different if you look up the actual scientific formulas that are calculating those. They may be different, but for general compositing use, the value is kind of the luminance. I'm sure it's probably not actually, but anyway. And there's other things too. There's the separate these other options, which you're always welcome to. Don't do that. Sometimes if I'm really looking to pull a matte from any information I can get in something, I'll look at some of these other separate options, even though I'm not sure, especially the other one, I'm not entirely sure what it does. But you can get some interesting things out of some of these. But again, the most useful is the RGBA, and the every once in a while this one's pretty useful. Hue, saturation, the value mostly. It's very similar to the Luma Key. So let's take a look at, that's basically it really. You can combine them with rotos as well, garbage rotos. I'm not going to get into rotoing. I will, if people want a full roto course or something, I'd be happy to do that. Something like this image, if you wanted to, if the director said, we need that cover, the engine, to match the rest of the car, you could very easily, it's cluttering up everything now. Duplicate this down here. You can cycle through these channels and easily get a matte for that thing, right? Green, blue. Looks like green is the most contrasty, which is Very interesting. And you could draw a matte very simply. Just go ahead over to mask and new and draw out your mask as such. That's a Jonathan Williamson, as such that, which you can tell if I ever say that, that's where I get it, watching so many of his tutorials back in the day. So there you go. Now we've got a matte of that, or a matte garbage mask. We can go back to view and bring in a mask node. Where is it at? There it is. Grab our mask, right? Hopefully it's set to the same size, which it is, which is great. Green, we're going to throw our color ramp on there, which is essentially the levels tool that we are looking for, right? You can crush it down and then crush this up. Start getting that nice matte for that trunk. And then you would want to do something like a converter, math, throw on a subtract, or multiply with that. Boom, multiply. So now you've got, you can, of course, get into all kinds of stuff here. Dilate, right there. And start choking that in a little bit. And you end up with a really nice matte for your trunk if you want to change the color. So you can kind of get the idea here too. If the director didn't like the color of these red rocks, it would be very easy to use the color tools or the channel separation to pull out a matte of just these rocks. Again, you'd probably have to garbage roto it, at least to some point. But to get most of it, to get the real details, you wouldn't have to get in here and roto every little plant and every little rock that they don't want touched. You could very easily use the color channel. You can see, look at that. That already looks pretty dang good. If you drew a real general rough mask around here and then crush this down, you can very easily get a matte off these rocks. So that's the basic idea of matting and how to do it in, look at this mess. Jeez, oh man. How to do it in Blender. And yeah, if you're interested to see how to do that in Natron, check out the other tutorial as well. It's all the same exact images, same process, everything works the same in every compositing program there is. You just have to know where the tools are and what they're called. And I hope if you saw this little keying trick and that was new for you, leave me a comment letting me know, because I'm curious to see if anybody watched far enough into this to catch that little tip. All right, cool. Well, I'm out, and I will catch you in the next one. And yeah, hope this helped. Thanks.